Welcome to Sales Secrets from the Top 1%, where the world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success. My name is Brandon Bornanson, a serial salesperson and entrepreneur, and I'm sitting down with the world's best sales experts to share their top secrets to sales success. Hello and welcome to this episode of Sales Secrets from the Top 1%, where the world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success. And I'm thrilled, honored, humbled, and grateful to have with me today, Kelly Roach. Kelly has a unique story from being an ex-NFL cheerleader for the Philadelphia Eagles to now a seven-figure entrepreneur who's well known for motivational speaking, sales training, and wildly popular podcast, The Unstoppable Success Radio Show. Kelly is a phenomenal business growth expert who's been featured in all of the top names, Forbes, Bloomberg, Businessweek, Yahoo, you name it. Also, Kelly's the author of an 11-time international bestseller, Unstoppable: 9 Principles for Unlimited Success in Business and in Life. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us today.
I am so excited to be here, and thank you so much for the amazing intro.
Yeah, you've got an incredible background from being a motivational speaker, sales trainer, business growth strategist, best-selling author, to like leading an incredible Fortune 500 company in the employee relations and staffing industry, from really going from the bottom of the role to the top of the top as an SVP. And then to making the cut as an NFL cheerleader. We're really excited to have you on the show. You've got a lot to cover today. So, as you know, the show, we cover two things that the audience cares about. Number one, what is your top sales secret? If you had to go back in time to when you first started in sales, marketing, entrepreneurship, what is the one thing that you would tell yourself that would give you a 10, 20, 30x multiple of success that you would have wished you would known, right when you stopped maybe as an NFL cheerleader to going into the Fortune 500 to running your own company? What would that secret be? But before that, I'm sure that you've learned all these different sales, marketing, entrepreneurship secrets, like from your career, from the beginning to the end. And I'd love to just learn more about your background, every place that you've worked and been at, and then what were the top secrets that can be shared with the audience to maximize sales, revenue, income results. So without further ado, I know the audience doesn't care about listening to me. I'd love to hear more about you and your background, and how did this all start?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was always a hustler. Like in college, I was working 3 jobs. I was always, looking at how can I better myself? How can I improve? And how can I make money? Because I came from a family with 5 kids. We didn't have a lot of extra income, floating around. And so a lot of the things that I wanted to do growing up, we couldn't afford. And I was the kind of kid that I was not going to take no for an answer. So that wasn't good enough for me. I was like, all right, we can't afford it. How do I figure out how to make this happen? So, from taking dance classes at the studio that I wanted to be at, I cleaned the studio after school 3 times a week for like 6 years to pay for my lessons. When I wanted to get into this gym where they produced Olympic level gymnasts, I literally was like 10 years old. I went to the owner of the gym and said, my parents can't afford it. We can't afford it, but I can babysit and I can come up with half to take class here. Would you meet me in the middle? And he was like, yes, let's do it. So to me, the number one sales secret is, realizing that every no can be turned into a yes with hard work, with determination, with a willingness to have the consistency, the frequency, and the follow through that 99% of people just don't have. Right. And so it all kind of started from that mentality of like, if you can't afford it, then go out and create it. Don't just accept your current circumstances as your future ones.
Where did you get that extreme ownership mentality? Because I don't meet a lot of people, unfortunately, that assume responsibility like at that high level. Was it your family? Was it just because you wanted to do it and there was no other way to afford it? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah. So that's a good question. I would say that it arose out of necessity because it just wouldn't happen otherwise. And I've always like had a strong kind of direction and clarity around what I wanted in life. And so it arose out of necessity. But I will never forget a conversation that I had in the car with my mom one day. I was telling her something that I wanted. And, you know, it was something like that we obviously couldn't afford. And she actually started laughing and she was like, you know, whatever. She's like, of course, Kelly. She's like, as long as you're willing to work for it, you can have anything you want. And that like literally flipped a switch in my brain that I have never gone a day ever since forgetting. And my mom was like joking, like she was laughing about it because it was like obviously something we couldn't afford. But to me, it almost like became the mantra for my life because I was like, oh my gosh, like you can have anything you want as long as you're willing to do the work for it. And I think every day since then, I've kind of like had that replaying in my mind where it's like, it's not about what you have or where you are right now. It's about, do you know what you want tomorrow to look like? And are you willing to do the work to create that tomorrow?
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. So it sounds like it started early on with
Yeah.
your mom just like instilling like, dude, yeah, like you want this, go get it.
Go get it. Yeah,
Did she tell you
exactly.
how, or was it just like,
No.
you got to figure it out?
No, it was like, you have to go figure it out. Right. So, I mean, I was like the gatekeeper at the pool. I was babysitting, you know, I was doing all sorts of odd jobs that carried over into college. And I ended up going to the school that I was going to be in the least amount of debt when I graduated. I got accepted to all these schools. The last place I wanted to go was the school that was in my hometown because every kid wants to run away for college and get away from school. Right.
Right.
And so the place where I was going to be in the least debt happened to be the school that was in my hometown. So that's where I ended up going. Now, I had been training at a really high level in dance and cheerleading for all of these years. This school didn't have a Division I dance team or Division I cheerleading team. And so I was like, okay, I have a big decision to make here. I can either cut off my passion, that's the thing that I love. I can go backwards, or I can take a big leap forward, right? And that's when I decided, you know what? I'm not going backwards. I'm auditioning for the NFL. And so I auditioned for the NFL again, not really because I was like, oh, I want to be an NFL cheerleader. It was because I wanted to keep growing. I wanted to push myself. I wanted to keep learning. There wasn't an opportunity at the school that I went to. And so to me, it was just kind of like, all right, this is the next step to keep moving forward. And so that was my next step. And that was one of my like crazy 18 jobs that I had throughout college. And it was amazing. It was the first time I learned to be on camera. It was the first time I learned to interview with the media. It was the first time I learned to interact with CEOs. And so that was a huge stepping stone for then when I graduated and went into the Fortune 500 world. I feel like I had already been working in this like high pressure, high stakes environment that was like, you know, the bar was so high. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's incredible. So, I mean, when you know, so you obviously wanted to get out of the dance, well, get out of like the high school dance and go into the collegiate dance and the NFL dance per se. But how was it out of everyone that you were interviewing with, like, or the dance competition, like how intense was that? Like how many people were competing?
Oh my
How intense
gosh.
was it?
It was unbelievable. And I laugh about this all the time. And I always say, like, I think I was so like dumb and immature that I didn't realize like girls go audition for like 5 to 7 years and don't get on the team. Like you go and you show up and it is hundreds and hundreds of girls that are auditioning. It is brutal, right? And it's like a 6-week process. You're going down to Philadelphia. It's like a 45-minute drive. You're there for like 6 hours. You're dancing your face off. Like it's crazy. And I don't think I realized what I was getting myself into, or I probably wouldn't have done it, but it was awesome. And, you know, I made it through the process and, you know, I had been working so hard for so long and I was at a really good studio. And that was why I was willing to clean, scrub the dance floor because I didn't want to go to the crappy studio that was like the cheapest place in town. I wanted to go to the really good place where I knew I was getting like challenged and I was really like getting this opportunity. So it was crazy, but it was an awesome experience. And I think it kind of made me a little fearless, right?
Yeah,
And, you know, people always,
dude.
you have to be.
How many people
Yeah.
in the stands at Philadelphia Eagle games? Like 50, 100,000? Like how many people? A lot.
Exactly. And you know what is interesting? People always say to me, I always say that I feel like cheering for the NFL was a huge stepping stone for me into my success as a salesperson and then a sales leader in corporate America. And people are like, what does that have to do with anything? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm like, having the balls to go out and do that. And like,
Totally.
our days were 14-hour days. There would be Saturday nights when I would hear all the kids getting ready to go to the bars. They're all wasted, walking down the street, and I'm in bed because I know I have to get up for a 14-hour day for the game the next day.
Crazy.
So people don't understand that aspect of what goes into that and how much discipline it requires. And that kind of really goes in line with like what we're talking about here on the show today, because, at the end of the day, it's whoever wants it bad enough and is willing to do the work that's going to accomplish anything in life, especially in sales. It's never the most talented person. A lot of times the most talented person is a person it comes easy to, and so they don't apply the effort. Whereas the person that's a little less talented, that has the work ethic, that has the consistency, the frequency, the discipline to follow through, they're the ones who end up knocking it out of the park every single time.
Every single time. And I think about
absolutely.
like my friends and people that I knew like in high school and in college who school came easy. All these things came easy. And like, I used to be so jealous. Like, why do I have to work so hard to get the same or better grades? Why do I have to train so much harder in the gym to get as strong or stronger when they're barely working out? But I think like same with your family. My family came from poor, and like when you come from those types of backgrounds, we have to earn everything, and nothing's given to you. It creates that hustle, that hard work.
Yeah.
What do you think about? There's a lot of critics out there because I get criticized about this all the time. That I'm like a hustle porn advocate. Like I promote like the hustle, and it sounds like you're in the band camp of. Like, no, you want to outperform. You got to work your ass off harder. You have to give everything. Like, and I know you talk about in your book, like financial abundance, the freedom, and then unstoppable success. So you talk a lot about in part 1, 2, and 3, that commitment, that consistency, that daily execution, the hard work. Like, talk me through that.
Yeah.
I'm sure you had to have been criticized, as a cheerleader in school, and then work for the Fortune 500. Like, tell me a little bit about that.
Absolutely. I think that in life, happiness comes from progress, right? We as humans are meant
100%.
to grow. We're meant to evolve. We're meant to progress. And when people stop growing and they stop evolving, they stop challenging themselves, that's when the decline happens, right? The decline in fulfillment, the decline in results, the decline in happiness, the decline in, income, right? And so, to me, my favorite video of all time, and I don't know for anyone listening if you guys have watched this, there is a commencement speech by Denzel Washington, and it's called Put God First. And in that video, he said, hard work works. Really successful people work hard, right? And it's such an empowering message because it's taking total ownership for your life, and it's knowing that anything is possible, and it's not giving your power away, whether it's your happiness, your financial freedom, the lifestyle that you want, the relationship that you want. It's like, listen, like, claim your own destiny and go out there and get what you want, and know there is no silver bullet. I tell my clients every single day, if you are not training to perform in your business the way that an athlete trains for their sport, expect to lose. And you deserve to, because there's other people out there that treat their business like a sport, and they show up every single day ready to perform.
Yeah, it's so funny. I mean, I gave that speech yesterday to my team.
Did you?
I was quoting Kobe Bryant, Tom Brady, Jordan, and I'm like, dude, 80% of Tom Brady's time is spent on game film, and he's studying and studying over again. I was like, go watch Time versus Time. I was like, I'm not like, you gotta like salespeople, you go into the business, you go into, work, and then like you just stop training. Like, shit, I'm trying to. And then I said this morning, like to the team, like, I trained for 4 hours last night after I left the office at like 6 or 7, because I'm like, I'm at a 1 out of 100. I'm building $1 billion company. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm the lowest of the low.
Yeah.
These billionaires who have nailed it, and I'm nothing, because like, you could be like, when you're, I know you're a 7-figure entrepreneur. Like, you can get to 7 figures and be like, damn, I got it all. I made it. But like, well,
Mm-hmm.
compared to who and compared to what? Because
Right.
no, like Mark Benioff, he's a multi-billionaire, and you and I are just multi-millionaires. Like it's just,
Right. Yeah.
and then you go back even like, okay, I made 6 figures, and you could be like, damn, I made it. Like, well, compared
Mm-hmm.
to who and what, it's interesting.
Yeah. And, I just go back again to like, listen, run your own race, like whatever level of success you're striving for, great, like more power to you. But there's a difference between gratitude and contentment with the success that you've already had and then getting lazy and complacent. Like those are different things, right? Like not everyone has to strive to be a billionaire, but it's also when you get to 6 figures, like you said, or you get to 7 figures, like you said, and then you just kind of sit back and you start coasting, like that is never going to be fulfilling for you, right? Like money, even money in and of itself, if you're not growing, if you're not developing, if you're not stretching yourself, even that in and of itself will no longer be fulfilling, right? No matter how much of it you have. And we see that all the time.
And I think your recommendation there, progress, like a
Yes.
long time, my family, everyone I know, and I'm sure like you work with a ton of people that deal with this problem. Everyone will tell you like you work too much. You care
Mm-hmm.
about work too much. You're going to be on your deathbed and you wish you did this, this, and this. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, dude, I'm going to be on my deathbed pissed that I didn't hit these massive goals. And
Mm-hmm.
like, it took me a really long time to worry about progress, not what other people think. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how did you identify that progress was the success? Like not buying the Lambo or the Ferrari, but like
Yeah.
progress towards a goal, not material things or not wasting time or money. Like, how did you figure that out?
Yeah. I mean, just studying the science of human happiness and just recognizing that like there's so many components that go into that, right? And I think that, you know, as you get older, especially at our age, right, you're either going up or you're going down. There is no staying the same. Like we all know, like as you get older, even look at your body, right? Like I work out with a personal trainer 3 times a week. If I wasn't doing that, I would be declining. Like not because I'm lazy or I eat bad, but because I'm getting older. And as you get older, just like your skills, just like your mind, your body deteriorates. So it's either you're working to go this way or you're letting gravity pull you that way. And I think it's really important for people to understand that there really is no like just staying the same. And, I think it's taking pride in challenging yourself, taking pride in, you kind of said it earlier when you said, looking back on your life and knowing like you either did or you didn't achieve these massive goals. To me, I say that, I just say it in a little bit of a different way. I feel like my highest calling and responsibility in life is to meet my highest potential, right? To meet my highest potential. And none of us sitting
So
here
good.
in this
That's so good.
conversation, right? We've gone nowhere near meeting our highest potential. You don't meet your highest potential until the day you die, right? So if you kind of stagnate or potter out like in your 30s or your 40s, like dude, there's a lot of people that are just getting started. There's people running marathons when they're 70. There's people getting
Right.
married when they're 80, right? So like I
Ironmans.
just think it's perspective, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And I mean, I like how you talk about the daily habits, daily consistency, because like it's so critical. You got to play the marathon game. You got to make these
Yes.
changes, create these habits, play the marathon game. I went like, I know you talk about health a lot. Like I went vegan, whole food, plant powered because I'm like, I'm trying to optimize the lever
Yes.
and for long-term gain, like to maximize my life expectancy, to maximize my health, my weight loss, my body fat percentage. Like I'm just playing all these levers. And I know if I play them over the long term, it's not about like in sales, like adding 10 leads and then just calling those 10 leads. It's like, how do you add 100 leads a day, make 100 calls, 100 emails, 100 demos, like, and then you keep moving that bar up and up and up every day.
Yeah.
Consistency.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So how did you tell me about the Fortune 500, right? Like, so
Yeah.
you worked in the recruiting field, you went from agent to SVP.
Yes.
And it was like in the sales space, right? And
Yes.
tell me a little bit about the secrets that you came across going from agent to senior agent to branch manager
Yeah.
to AVP to RVP to SVP.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was a lunatic. When I started with the company, they gave me my territory and they sat me down and they were like, okay, this is your territory. And, these are all the best companies in the territory, but these companies don't even go after these. We've been trying to close these for 10 years. No one's had success. Don't waste your time. And I'm like, watch me. So within like 8 months, I had closed Mars, like Mars drinks, M&Ms, QVC. Everybody knows QVC,
When you
right?
closed Mars, did you eat a lot of all the
Yeah.
M&Ms?
I didn't. I didn't. I got to keep the health in check. But yeah, I mean, all of these companies, that they had basically told me, we've been trying to get into these companies for 10 years. You'll never get into them. Don't even sell to them. Within a matter of months, we had our foot in the door and we're growing all of them. And, I was the first person in, the last person out every single day. And I tell this story, I wrote about it in my book. I was 21, I think, when I started. I turned 22, I think, my first year. And I would come to work in a full suit every single day. And I would have hair and makeup done. And I was like ready to do business. And my peers and my colleagues would be, they would say to me, why do you get dressed up every day? Why are you wearing a suit to work? And I'm like, I'm not here for the job I'm in right now. I was like, I am here for the job I'm going to have 6 levels above. And I'm dressing the part for where I'm going to be, not where I am today. And that's exactly what happened. I was promoted 7 times in 8 years. I went from managing one person to building a team of 100 people and managing 17 different locations around the US. We broke every sales record in the company's history. They were actually flying amazing. CEOs from countries around the world to come to my branches because they were like, what is this girl doing? And what's really interesting is I don't even consider myself like a great salesperson. I am extremely disciplined in my approach. I focus on the things that matter, that pay off. I teach other people how to do that. Consistency and frequency, right, is everything in sales. Sounds consistency and frequency.
You preach that because I preach that. That's the most important over long periods.
Absolutely. It really, really is. And it's just determination, right? And, now when I look at how I run my businesses, I look back on my time, in building that team with Fortune 500. And now I run 2 companies. And the most important thing that I learned was how to get results through other people and how to empower and scale a winning team. Because, even if you become the best salesperson in the world, you can only go so far in individual production, right? But if you Exactly. And that's like you're locking into that hustle and grind forever. But as you start building a winning team and you know how to get results through others, you can grow exponentially and it doesn't require more working hours from you. And so I think mastering becoming a great salesperson so that you can then empower and teach others is like the most valuable skill set any person can develop in the world of business.
Wow. So how do you do that? Like, how do you empower your team? How do you empower these people to do that? Because I'm trying now we've got a team of 40 to 50. I want to double every year. I want to double the team every year. And I don't know how to do it. Tell me how to do it.
Okay. So there's the mental side and then there's the physical side, right? And the mental side drives the physical side. So I think become fanatically obsessed with your culture and, really creating a culture, not only of excellence, but of excellence coupled with loyalty, where the people that work for you are as invested in that end result as you are, and they see their job working for you as a pathway to accomplish their goals and dreams. So like what I always did, and I still do with my teams, is like I sit down with them, I have them make dream boards, I set goals with them that they want to achieve in their personal life. I show them how making their bonus working for me is going to help them accomplish all of their goals and dreams. And I really
dream board and the vision board with them. That's game changer.
Yes.
Wow.
So and it changes everything, right? Because when you
I don't do it with my people.
Right. So it's like you're motivated on that level, but they're not motivated on that level. Right. But when you get a team of 50 people that are all coming into work every day, fighting for their dreams and knowing that this job and their commission that they're going to make working for you is going to buy them the beach house. It's going to buy them the car. It's going to, pay off the school loans. And that's what they're thinking about all day, every day when they're working for you. Their productivity is going to be like 10x what it would be if they're just like, okay, these are our goals. This is what we're trying to do as a company. Like, that's great, but what's in it for them? Right.
Yeah. I love that. I love it.
So I think the mental side of like seeing something bigger for them than they even see for themselves, inspiring them, creating this like amazing culture, building people up. Yeah. I think.
Oh, keep going.
No, I was just going to say, like, I think the mental side always precedes the physical, right? And then I think on the physical side, it's all about engineering. So like I always say, like leadership, once you have the culture piece and you have people emotionally connected to the goals and you have their commitment and loyalty, then it's all about engineering, because it's like, it's setting up, I always say it's like a bowling lane that you put the bumpers on where like people can't fail, because you've engineered success so well that all they have to do is like literally lob the ball onto the alley and like they're gonna win no matter what. Like that's our job as leaders.
Yeah, you're like, you can't fail. It's impossible.
Right. Exactly.
That's awesome. So,
exactly.
You said another game changer you had mentioned, like a secret, was the dress, not for where you're at today, but where you want to go 6, years from now, 10 years from now. Where'd you get that from?
I just think how you do something is how you do anything. And, I think that people meet you where you show up in life, right? Like if I show up and I have a certain level of like standards and respect for myself, you're going to in turn be like, oh, wow, okay. Like I'm going to treat you a certain way. Like if I command respect from you, you are going to meet me at that level, because it's almost like uncomfortable not to, right?
Yeah.
There's a level of professionalism I've now set in this relationship where like there's a standard, there's an expectation. And it's not just about how you dress. Like that's one little tiny thing, right? But it's like that concept of like, be the best that you can be in everything that you do. And how you do something is how you do everything. So if you're a sloppy mess, you're a sloppy mess. Always. Like end of story, right?
Yeah. It's brutal. Yeah, I agree. So you just use that as like, hey, I'm going to just do this day in and day out.
Yeah.
And when it comes to so you grew it from agent to SVP and everyone was flying out. Could you think about outside of consistency and what did you say? So was consistency, was it top secret? What were the others?
Consistency, frequency, and disciplined focus, right? So we all know the vast majority of people spend their time on minutia that doesn't matter. We all know that the 80-20 principle lives in our lives. We can accept it or not accept it. We can think about it, we can not think about it. But the truth is 80% of our results come from 20% of our actions. It's helping people to understand what 20% of their actions are driving 80% of their results, and then focus in more and more and more of their time on the things that are going to, in fact, bring them results. Right? But most people are so focused on just taking tactical action that there's no actual zooming out to say, okay, what's working, what's not, what can I get rid of, what can I release, what can I, let go of, and how do I take this thing that's working and spend, instead of 5 hours a week on it, spend 20 hours a week on it. There we go. I can 5x, my profits and 5x my sales just by making that change. Like it's so simple, right?
Yeah. So you're like, instead of trying to do social media on Instagram, Snapchat, LinkedIn, Facebook, instead of trying to make 1,000 calls, send 100 email, 1,000 emails, do radio, do TV, like, would you say that it's just like analyzing all the channels, figuring out which ones are improving the best and like doubling down on those? Or how do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, so I think the vast majority of people skim the surface on 100 things. And so they get results for virtually none of them. right? So you don't want to go so hyper focused that you're at risk, right? You have to have lots of lines in the water in any type of business in order to grow, and especially to protect yourself from a sustainability standpoint. But it's like whatever you're going to commit to, you have to go deep enough, hard enough, long enough, and be committed enough to it that you're actually bringing it full circle for sustainable results. And most people aren't. They dabble in dozens of different things. And then they're looking around and they're saying, well, I'm working so hard. Why am I not getting any results? And it's like, you're not getting any results because you're not doing enough of anything to get real results, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's kind of like working out and dieting. Like if you work out every other day and you eat like shit, you're
you're neutralizing. You're like, you didn't work out.
Dieted like perfectly. That would get you 90 to 95% of the way there, probably.
Yes, exactly.
So figuring out that 80-20 rule. Now, what if you don't know where to start though? Like, let's just say another branch manager, or, like you're telling them, hey, just figure out the 80-20 rule. 80% of your results come from 20% of the efforts and activity. And they're like, okay, thanks, Kelly. Like
they don't know how to figure that out. They don't.
Like
I get down and dirty. Like, you got to get. No, you don't need to hire anybody. No, you don't need to hire anybody. Like, you sit down. Listen, this is the thing. When you, the leader, are outside of it, you can see it in 10 seconds. They just can't see it because they're in it, right? So you can sit down with them and so quickly help them identify, right? And also success leaves clues, right? So you can look at your best performers and say, these are the things that they're doing. This is what they're doing really well. This is where they're spending time. This is what they're doing. And then you can basically take that and create like time blocking, right? Time blocking, set activity metrics, like really strong KPIs, follow up and follow through on them, and analyzing the results that they're getting, and then guiding them and coaching them. And I think the coaching piece is what is so severely lacking in the entrepreneurial space. I see that entrepreneurs hire people so that they can delegate, which is really just them like throwing things at people, but not actually creating like an onboarding plan, management metrics, doing weekly one-on-ones, actually investing in the people to help them reach their potential. And then
so hard to do. It takes a lot of energy and time. Like
it does.
Trying to figure it out. It's hard.
That's why I wrote my second book. My second book is called Bigger Than You, The Entrepreneur's Guide to Building an Unstoppable Team. And the whole thing is about how entrepreneurs can become great CEOs and great leaders within their company, and really breaking down like what that weekly routine with your team needs to look like to help them reach their potential, because that's where all the money is, right? If your people are an expense in your business, you're basically screwed, because your people costs are your biggest costs in any business. So your people are either going to be an expense or they're going to be an investment. And what I always teach my people is, every role that you hire for is a profit center. And so you can get a little checker for every person in your organization, and they're either red or they're green, right? There's no gray, right? They're red or they're green. And it's like your job as the CEO is to make sure you don't have any red pieces on the board. They're all green. They're all bringing in money instead of costing you money, right?
Yeah, I love that. So in the new book, what inspired you to, because you've got the 9 principles, Unstoppable, right? The 9 principles for unlimited success in business and in life, where you've got the 3 different, part 1, financial abundance, part 2, freedom, part 3, unstoppable success. So, you wrote that one, and then you came out with a new book. What motivated you? Did you just see a gap in the market with like great entrepreneurs, great leaders?
What happened was I started working with hundreds of entrepreneurs to help them build their businesses. And they were doing that successfully, and they were growing. And then they were all hitting a wall, because I'm like, okay, you need to be hiring, you need to be building a team. You can't do this alone. Like you're making thousands of dollars every day now. And like, I just see them like running into the brick wall, like over and over again. And I'm like, okay, I've created a monster. I have to teach these people now how to like be CEOs, right? So it's just me being a business growth strategist. It's like, I can't bring the full circle with my own clients if they don't move from business growth strategy into CEO leadership. leadership or otherwise, all that work that we just did on the business growth side is for naught because they don't have the leadership pieces of things.
Yeah, and to really ultimately scale infinitely
Yes.
with as many people, you need that in place.
Yeah.
It took me 2.5 years, I would say 2 years to go from number one salesperson to like CEO, not
Mm-hmm.
selling anymore. I would actually challenge it and say 3 years because I was so used to
Yeah.
just selling every day. And like
Yeah.
I was doing all these other things a lot, but I was just selling all the time at my company. It takes a long, like hard transition to go from sales execution strategy or growth to management and empowerment
It
and
does.
learning and development. It's so hard.
You're so right. It is absolutely a multi-year process. And it really kind of separates the men from the boys because a lot of people, quite honestly, are not willing to do that very hard work. And that's why you see so many businesses, they might through efforting get to 500,000 a year. They might through efforting make it to $1 million a year, but there's very few that ever get beyond that. And that's because people don't understand this is a 3 to 5 year process of you getting good enough. Like it really is like you becoming, yes, it's you becoming the CEO that can even lead at that level, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So break down, because sales management and sales leadership is a big piece of the show, right? Like we wanted to cover sales secrets on for sales developers, for outside salespeople, and we covered that, like the daily consistency, the repetitive action over time. When it comes to sales leadership with your new book, give us some of the top sales secrets that you've learned or that you share that the audience can leverage to maximize leading, growing, building their sales
Yeah.
team.
90% of sales success in any organization is the discipline of the leader. So it's the AM, PM meetings, right? Wow. It's driving the activity. It's following up on the metrics. It is literally dissecting your team's phone calls, their messages, their meetings. It's improving their skill sets. And that is what people don't realize. They're like, oh, this person's underperforming. Get them out of here. Let's replace them. And then they get another person in. They're like, oh, I'm frustrated with this person. Bring another person in. And it's so much of it is the leader. You can take the same salesperson, put them under one leader, they're a B minus, a C player. You put them under another leader, 6 months, they're killing it. They're breaking every record out there. So, I would say for everybody listening, you may be thinking that it's your team that needs to improve, but in reality, it's probably you. And that's the biggest thing. And I know like people don't want to hear that. That's not the quick, easy answer that you want. But, salespeople, what makes them good at sales is also what creates that need for them to have an extremely disciplined, structured leadership team, an extremely structured, disciplined routine that they follow as a salesperson. Because the fact that they are engaging and they have personality and they're innovators and they're outside of the box and, they bring that energy to work, like that's amazing. And that's what makes them great. But they also a lot of times lack organization. Right? They lack organization. They lack structure. They lack that follow-up. And so it's your responsibility to engineer that in the way that your company or your team is run. And just through that engineering, you can impact your whole sales force at once versus one person at a time.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. When it comes to what's the perfect, like, how many calls should you shadow? Like, how often should you shadow? Like, what's the perfect sales meeting structure? Like, just curious, because I've noticed, we've got all the sales dashboards in the world. Like,
yeah,
literally, we're tracking leads, activity, calls, emails, social touches, videos, texts, meetings booked, meetings held, close rate, conversion rates at each stage of the funnel, you name it. We're tracking everything. But like, I noticed last year that we weren't sitting on calls and we're not like, there's just, how can you coach? You can't just coach like, oh yeah, you need to do this. You need to like literally dissect the call, dissect the pitch, just like Tom Brady's doing with his game film, watching his own game film for your reps. How many times should you do that in a week for your team? Like, and also what's the perfect sales meeting structure? in your opinion?
Yeah. Well, I think in terms of the coaching and the hip to hip, like giving that feedback and that type of thing. I mean, I think that depends on the person. There's some people that you can sit in on a few calls, you can give them feedback and like they are able to take feedback and implement it instantly. There's other people that you might have to sit in on 15, 20, 30 calls before they get it. And I do think that varies person to person. And that's why when building a sales organization, it's so important that you have like lots of levels within your organization and that you're really focused on retention, because you as the leader, you don't have enough hours in the day to do all the coaching that needs to be done. You need mentors, you need seniors, you need leaders within your organization so that, let's say there's 100 reps, well, you have like 30 people that are coaching the lower, the lower 70 people. Does that make sense? So I do think it varies person to person. I think you have to assess the results. If someone's, performing exceptionally, why sit and get on 30 calls with them or get on 15 calls with them just because you feel like you're supposed to do it? Whereas if someone's not meeting or exceeding the goals, then obviously like they need your attention because there's a disconnect for them that they're not getting. You know what I mean?
Makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that. And, do you try to let go of the people that it takes 16 like sit-ins to figure out? Like, you know what I mean? I talk a lot about, with entrepreneurs, like we help 25,000 different companies that use our platform, seamless.ai. And like, the companies and reps that we can coach and they like try to learn and apply right away are some of the most successful. And then you had mentioned that the reps that will take 14 or 16 demo coaching sessions. Like, do you leverage patience and do that? Or like, cause we try to drill into people, like never stay humble, stay hungry, stay learning 24/7, or else you will get your ass kicked, like hands down. That's why, like we talked about earlier, like the people that had it easy aren't going to try hard because they had it easy.
Yes.
Like, what do you do with the reps that like aren't like applying or demos?
So here's my philosophy, and everybody has their own philosophy. But for me as a leader, like if there's a rep that's underperforming, but I see that they're like working early, working late, working on the weekend, going above and beyond, doing extra activity, reading books, listening to audios and trying, like I will be patient with that person. I would give them 6 months more, right? And I will invest in them because I have had people that were slow starts that like their first year was horrible, that ended up, they just, for whatever reason, it took them longer to click. But then when it clicked, they were like animals, right? So so I'm very like, I look at the whole, like the holistic behavior of that person. Now, if the person's clock in, clock out, they're sucking it, they're not exceeding their metrics, they're not fighting for it, they're not hungry, I have no patience. I'm like, see ya, thank you so much. Let's all move on with our lives.
You can't teach people to want to hustle.
No.
When it comes to one of my last questions before we review again your top secret, what do you do? And I've been there multiple times. Like I know a lot of salespeople, entrepreneurs, marketers out there have been here before. And I don't believe you if you've never been here before. Shit, I was here last month. What do you do when you feel stuck? Like, I'm trying to build this company. We want to positively impact 1 billion people. There's a lot of other entrepreneurs, salespeople out here who are trying to go from 5 figures to 6 figures, 6 figures to 7 figures to 8 figures, 8 figures to 9. Like, no matter what we're doing, we're just not seeing the results. We feel unmotivated. We feel stuck. We feel like we're not getting anywhere. Like remember when you talked about like, you start to get lazy. You start to not go to the gym. You start to not make that next call, do that next activity, study at night because you're getting drained. You're getting like, I don't know, like you just feel stuck. So how do you coach? What's your secret to overcoming being stuck in sales, marketing, and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I always say success is scientific. And usually when things aren't working or something's like stuck, there's a reason. And a lot of times, like we either can't see it or we don't want to admit it. And it happens to all of us. Like it happens to me, it happens to my team members, it happens to my clients. If you're a human, you're gonna get stuck, right? So like none of us are immune. But I do think when things aren't working, there's usually a reason. I also think a lot of times people confuse delayed gratification for being stuck.
Mm,
And I think many times people prematurely make strategy changes or shifts when they are already doing the right thing to get the results that they want, but they need more time executing excellently to get the result. And so I think you have to be very, very careful to ask yourself, like, I always use the 10,000 hours to mastery, right? I use that all the time.
It takes
And
10,000 hours. Boom, boom, boom.
yes, it takes 10,000 hours. And so, you know, when someone comes to me and is like, I've been working so hard at blah, 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 and it's not working, I'll be like, okay, great. Let's peel that back a little bit. How many times have you done it? How long have you been doing it for? How many hours have you put into it? And when you look at our frame of reference in 2019 for what we think hard work is or what we think commitment is, a lot of times like we're like on a scale of like 1 to 10, we're at like a 0, right? And then we're frustrated and upset that the next 5 million hasn't hit the book since we've been doing this for 30 days, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. So
that's awesome. So you're saying like you're probably underestimating the amount of time, work, effort that you need to put in, and like it's delayed gratification. Like the results are coming, just keep doing it, and you're gonna see it come. Just stay at it, regardless of how hard, difficult, time consuming, capital exhausted you get. Just stay
and
in
it's
it.
like, yeah, and you know what? It's being honest with yourself. Like, are you really doing it? Or are you like kind of bitching and complaining because you want something that you didn't actually work for? Like, it's like, are you actually doing the thing with the amount of time and energy and investment, you know, that it takes to get the result that you want? Or is it something like a plant where a plant grows underground for weeks and develops this whole amazing root system, right? That you can't see, but then all of a sudden it bursts through the seams. And then in a matter of days, it's like there's this beautiful plant. And you're like, oh my gosh, that happened so fast. And it's like, no, that didn't happen so fast. That's been in the works for weeks or maybe months.
Yeah. You'll see that too, like not only in sales, but like with health. I know we were talking a lot about health. Like if you're making these micro changes to your diet, like you'll see the impact that it has on body fat percentage and weight loss, like in a few days after you make the changes, because the body, let's just say you cut out sweets, or you cut out alcohol, or you cut out whatever it may be that's holding you back. Like you got to remove the water weight, you got to remove like the sugar, you remove like all the different factors. And if you expect to do that change and then see the results in 24 hours, like you do that change over 3 to 4 days, and then you'll see the results on day 5, on day 6, and then forever. Same thing with sales and marketing and entrepreneurship. The hard part is the consistency when you're not seeing the results, or even if you're seeing the results, the daily consistency is brutally like near impossible to maintain. How do you maintain the consistency, which I think is one of the top secrets?
Yeah.
It's hard to
do. It is. It's playing a long game, right? So it's being in it to win it. You know, I think there's people that have these spurts of like excitement and optimism and energy. And then there's people that are committed to creating a legacy. And there's people that are committed to creating a lifetime of success. And so, you know, the secret to consistency is playing a long game where you identify what you are trying to build for the rest of your life to create a legacy. At that point, you're not running on emotional fumes or an excitement and optimism. You are running on your calling, your responsibility, your purpose for being on the planet. And you're thinking about things in the span of where you are today versus where you want to be 5, 10, 15, 20, 50 years from now. And that's a completely different mentality and mindset. And you don't have to fight to stay motivated when that's when you're waking up and working for every single day.
Yeah, I love that. And now that we're towards the end of the show, obviously we went over 10, 20, 30 different secrets to sales, marketing, entrepreneurship, success. And you alluded to like your top secret at the beginning, but just to recap for the audience, like what, if you had to go back in time to when you were in high school dancing, or to when were an NFL cheerleader for the Philadelphia Eagles, or when you were leading, as an entry level agent in the staffing industry to becoming an SVP, and there was one top sales secret that you had to give yourself at the beginning of your career, what would
I would say think 1,000 times bigger and talk to 1,000 times more people than you think that you need to. That's it. I think sales success is pretty darn simple. It's like, think bigger than you think is the biggest of the big, right? And then go out and talk to 1,000 more people than you think that you need to. And like all those little goals, all those little dreams will all take care of themselves. And now you're operating like at the top of the universe, playing in a place where like very few people are even competing with you, because no one even has like the nerve to attempt those things that are at the level that you want to be at.
That's crazy. 1,000x, 1,000 times bigger. So like, what is that for you?
Yeah. I want to like recreate the educational system so that by the time kids graduate from high school, they already have a profitable business that affords them the opportunity to either pay for higher education if they so choose, or accomplish lifestyle freedom by the time a normal college kid would graduate from college. So I'm really working to create the best incubator for business owners on the planet, but then working to design college accredited things that, kids can actually come out of school instead of being hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt and needing to move into their parents' basement. We're instead empowering them to live life at their highest potential.
Yeah. And it's interesting, like a lot of this stuff I studied in high school and in college, and I got my undergrad and MBA. I'm just like, dude, they didn't teach me.
No.
They didn't teach me fundraising. No. They didn't teach me how to build a business, how to manage a business, how to grow a business. They didn't teach me. I mean, I went to sales school in my college. Luckily, it was like one of 5 schools. Like they should be teaching you the sales. They should be teaching you the public speaking, all of this stuff. It's crazy. And what I think it's like, what, 2 trillion, like trillions in debt with the education system. Yeah, it's going to collapse. And nowadays,
it's just not right. It's just not right. Yeah.
You can wear anything anywhere. So that's awesome. That's really exciting. And I mean, I want to positively impact 1 billion people, 1/7 of the global population. But like, I feel like now I'm thinking too small, and it should be like 60% of the global population.
And I think that's why we're on the show here today, because that was the moment. That was the moment, right?
Like you just change it, like, and then what do you do? So once, if you're like, okay, I want to positively impact 1 billion people, or I want to recreate the education system. Now what? When you're like, okay, I listened to Kelly. Her secret was to think 1,000 times bigger. Okay, here's the 1,000x of where I'm at today, where I want to go. Let's just say it's 6 figures. Do the math on 1,000x. That's where I want to be right now.
Yeah.
And then what? Like, how do you make that goal a reality?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, first of all, think joyfully about that and commit to working to become the person that's capable of that. Because if you aren't working to become the person, you're never going to get the result that goes with that. That's number 1. Number 2, go out and find the people that you need to be paying to get help from to go accomplish that goal. Find the person that, did what you want to do and pay to get their help, right? I mean, that's been such a huge learning for me. I always have like 3 different coaches I'm working with on all different things. I'm sure you're the same way. Like, find someone who's where you want to be. Crazy. Right. And then it goes back again.
Consultants and like experts, like,
absolutely.
Anything you want to do, someone's already done before.
Mm-hmm. And it's silly to go out and think that you have to like create that without following any type of blueprint for success. It's like every successful person is getting help from someone else that came before them that was already successful,
that may have done it. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, Kelly Roach, I thank you so much for being on the show. This was amazing. So you've got your 2 books. Where can the audience find, pick up Unstoppable and your new book? And also you've got the Unstoppable Success radio show that everyone's got to tune into. So give the world here listening where they can find your books, follow your show, and learn more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Unstoppable Success Radio is definitely like the place to come hang out. It is 20 minutes or less of just unbelievably power-packed strategy to scale your business online. So it's on iTunes, Stitcher, every podcast platform out there. That would be the best place to connect. And I do live trainings in my Facebook group every single week. It's called the Tribe of Unstoppables. So that's where myself and my team hang out. We help entrepreneurs grow. We teach, we train, we coach. It's a lot of fun. So I would say meet us over there.
It's awesome. That's so cool. The live shows. Just started getting into LinkedIn Live.
So fun. I love it.
Awesome. And the show is great because 20 minutes, like basically where I live, anywhere I drive, I've got 20 or 30 minutes.
That's it. That's why I do it.
You know, you've got 20, 40 minutes of cardio, 50, 60 minutes of cardio. You can listen to it there. You can listen on the road. You can listen to it at the office. Like everyone's got 20 minutes. So subscribe to the show. And then the books are on Amazon, right? They could search Kelly Roach or
they can search Kelly Roach Unstoppable, Kelly Roach Bigger Than You. You can go to my website, kellyroachcoaching.com, either one.
Awesome. Yeah. So subscribe to Kelly Roach on iTunes, on Stitcher, go to Amazon, pick up the books, and then kellyroachcoaching.com if you want to go to the website, or just connect on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/Kelly Roach INT. Kelly, thank you so much for tuning in today. We appreciate it. We got to think 1,000 times bigger, and we just got to create that daily consistent execution. 10,000 hours. Don't give up. Don't get stuck, and just go all out.
That's it. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Sales Secrets from the Top 1%. We release new episodes every Monday and Thursday, so make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube to never miss an episode.